Hey team, EURUSD has continued to push up higher following the overall dump on the dollar index in towards the downside. Now EURUSD, as you know, I'm still interested in looking for shorts as long as EURUSD remains within its daily order flow. Now, as we can currently see, the overall buy for the sell here that we have on the daily time frame, that is currently where we are situated, together with us nearing the 3 monthly and the monthly open, from where we can potentially look for another downside push. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, we had several liquidity highs which we were eyeing up to look for a potential short from. However, none of those liquidity highs have actually provided us with a valid entry as of yet. Now, the current market structure here on EURUSD internally remains bearish, where we've seen a push down, a pull back, a push down, a pull back, a push down. Therefore, this is the swing high, this here is the swing low. Now, obviously, we're trading currently within the premium of pricing. We've retraced above the overall 0.5 fib. We've taken out the overall final liquidity high, which is this high over here, and we have neared the overall monthly / 3 monthly open. So this is a nice area to look for a potential short opportunity from. However, what do we now need? We need a shift in the market structure. So looking at the 1-hour time frame here, what we can see is that nothing really yet shows us that the market is ready to start reversing in towards downside. You can see that we're just trickling up higher, 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 higher. Now, when the market does this, you don't just randomly want to get into a short and just see the market continue pushing up higher. No, we want to wait for the overall confirmation in order to have a valid potential sell position. Now, when we look at the fractal structure here on the 4-hour time frame, we can very clearly see that the overall 4-hour fractal low is positioned over here. So it's still going to take some time before we have a very good and valid entry on EURUSD. So we need to wait for the 4-hour fractal to break. Once that 4-hour fractal low breaks, then we can look for the overall retest of what is then a supply zone in the form of a buy for a stronger sell down. Look for the retest, and then we can get into another sell opportunity. Now, that is obviously the best setup that you can wait for, because we've retraced into premium pricing, we've taken out liquidity, and now we want the new impulsive phase to start. But when do we understand that the new impulsive phase is ready to start? Well, once we see a shift in market structure. So that's currently what I'm waiting for on EURUSD. Obviously, we have to keep in mind that the overall market structure is still bullish, in the sense that if you look here on the daily time frame, you can very clearly see that we had a break of structure here in towards the upside, and then again a break of structure in towards the upside. The market then retraced back down in towards this liquidity low over here, and since then it's been reversing back up. But this is a nice reversal, because again, we're now trading inside the daily supply. We're trading near the 3 monthly / monthly open. So this is a nice potential area to look for more downside from. Now, if you're an aggressive trader, obviously you can already get into a short position here on top of the overall liquidity high around that 3 monthly open. Place your stop loss well above the overall highs and just simply target a new swing low. Or if you want to be safe and you want to wait for the highest probability play, then wait for the 4-hour change of character to happen here. So the low break over here, then wait for the retest, and then we get in over here on the lower time frame confirmation to then trade it back down towards the overall equal lows. For buying opportunities, I would have to really wait for this daily supply zone to get broken. So we would need to see 2 more days of kind of like bullish impulses, break above the overall supply zone, retest that, and then we can look for a potential long opportunity. So that's what I have for EURUSD. Moving on into the dollar index. The dollar index has also not really shown any sign of a slowdown just yet. Focusing first of all on the daily time frame, nothing too strange if I really kind of like keep it very simple. Overall, the overall order flow is still bullish. We are currently situated within this sell for the buy, which is your daily demand zone. Now, inside of that daily demand zone, what can we look for? We can look for potential long opportunity, because if you look at the 4-hour time frame, it becomes a lot more clear that the overall internal structure here is bullish, right? Push up, push down, push up, push down, push up. This is just, again, a retest. However, retest, having patience is extremely important, because the only trade that I've taken this week was a EURUSD buy on the overall dollar pullback, anticipating that we would hit the daily demand zone. Now that we've done that, I'm out of that position, and I'm now waiting for the market structure / sentiment to shift. So what's now happened here is that we've neared kind of like this little bump in the road here. And what you would now want to see is a shift in the market structure again. So the current fractal high is currently positioned over here. What I'm now waiting for, simply said, is maybe a little bit of a push down lower. Would love to fill this gap and then see an aggressive reversal up higher. Then look for potential further long opportunities on the 4-hour change of character once a sell for the buy demand zone is then created. within the daily demand zone. So that is obviously the ideal situation. I'm not just randomly buying here on a bullish candle. I said the same yesterday, guys. Don't just buy on the random 4-hour bullish candlestick and then place a stop loss underneath the low, because then you're just going to get these ridiculous setups. We can see that the overall internal trend here is extremely bearish, right? Even if you look at the 1-hour time frame, you can see that the momentum is currently just selling off in towards the downside. So don't try and call the bottom. No, wait for an actual market structure shift. And then we'll start looking for potential long opportunities. But obviously the highest probability long will come after pretty much coming into that region, maybe filling this gap, and then looking for that long opportunity. Okay. So yeah, keep that in mind. And this is pretty much what I'm looking for on the dollar. Only if we were to, for example, break that daily order flow, then we could potentially head down lower again. But for now, as long as daily demand holds, longs are the only option that I have in my playbook. Moving on into GBPUSD, we can see that GBPUSD here has also continued pushing up higher. It's still rejecting around that 3 monthly / monthly open. The 4-hour change of character low is very close. So again, my chart looks maybe a little bit complicated, but I promise you it is so simple, guys. Starting here on the daily time frame, we can clearly see that we are bearish. So with bearish, I mean the overall strong impulse here in towards the downside that broke market structure. Where it broke market structure here. Now, that then meant that we have a swing structure from this high over here in towards the low over here. The market retraced into premium pricing, took out liquidity, and since then we've been in our bearish impulsive phase. So what we now want to do is only look pretty much for shorting opportunities. Now, the market has retraced beautifully towards the monthly / 3 monthly open. Go into the 4-hour time frame and you will see that the overall market structure is bearish as well, because what has happened here is that we have gotten a break of structure downwards, break of structure downwards, break of structure downwards. That now means swing high and swing low. We've come back up to take out the end boss little liquidity here. This here is a strong high because it took out the previous high here to the left. So we've taken out all of these descending highs. That is final liquidity, monthly, 3 monthly tapped. And now what we're waiting for is for the fractal structure shift on the 4-hour time frame to take place. So preferably we would now want to see a sell-off breaking this low over here, strong sell-off, retest of that monthly and 3 monthly open, and then look for the next sell in towards the downside. And then you pretty much have all the confluences in the sense that you're in premium pricing, you've taken out liquidity, you've seen the change of character, entry model, and the overall swing structure and internal structure are both bearish, and then the fractal structure also is bearish. So waiting for that short to play out, but obviously not jumping the gun, remaining patient, and let's see if that setup actually comes into fruition, because otherwise we can just obviously see still the dollar index just head down lower, and then GBPUSD will likely still push up a little bit higher. So stay safe and don't jump yet the gun until we really see that good confirmation. Going into AUDUSD, the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar have been extremely weak. We have a massive risk off sentiment in the world at the moment, obviously due to the political tensions between China and the United States that is causing the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar, which are risk on assets. So when, let's say, people are ready to take risk, they buy the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar. But when there is a lot of uncertainty within the world, what do people do? They start buying the Swiss franc and the Japanese yen. That's why we've seen a lot of Swiss strength across the board. If you look at, for example, NZDCHF, that thing has been selling in towards the absolute ground. We talked about this as well yesterday in the live stream. Also, if you look at CAD Swiss, CAD is also a risk on pair, has also been selling off in towards the ground. So looking at AUDUSD, it only makes sense to sell off more. I was waiting and hoping that we were going to see this high here get taken out and then look for the short, kind of like a front run short position, nothing to do about it, and I'll just let this push down lower if it wants to. Going into NZDUSD, this one is still ready potentially to drop off after taking out the internal liquidity. Keep an eye open for a short position on this. It's very likely that it's going to now take out this low over here. Although I must say it's not fully in my kind of like playbook of setups that I like taking, as we need to break this low first, and then I'll maybe get in on the over momentum and order flow. But I would prefer to wait and sit it out for GU and EU once I get that dollar confirmation, as opposed to trading NZDUSD at the moment. But NU still has potential to push down lower with the momentum that it currently has. Then going into USDCAD, USD Swiss, USD Yen. So USDCAD is still relatively bullish as the Canadian dollar is extremely weak with the risk off sentiment. Obviously, the overall order flow still remains bullish. We're still in a bullish, let's say, kind of like sphere. I'm not sure if that's an English word, but kind of like in a bullish bubble where we're just making higher highs and higher lows. So it doesn't make sense to look for shorts yet. As long as the overall order flow holds and this demand zone here remains in control, you can only look for long positions. So yeah, I'm just looking for more longs, and I hope you are too. USDCHF, on the other hand, sold off massively in towards the downside, obviously with that Swiss franc strength and the Japanese yen strength. Overall, it seems that this supply zone then was indeed enough to push the market down lower. And what it has now done, it's caused a change in character. So that now means here that the buy before the sell is your supply zone. So what you can now do is look for further shorting opportunities if we were to retest that monthly and 3 monthly open. So yeah, now you have a good setup on your hands for potential shorts once the retest happens / occurs. And again, this is a good potential setup that could play out where you have, let's say, the swing structure from the high in towards the low. And then here you have a little bump in the road. And then let's say, here you have a bump in the road, and then you have here and here. And now what's happened, you've taken out these first 2 bumps in the road / liquidity, and then you see a strong sell-off forming a supply zone from where you could now potentially look for a sell. And now you can look at the 1 hour time frame, for example, or the 50-minute time frame to get potential sell opportunities once the market retraces. Then we have USDJPY, which has also sold off again with the yen strength, and that is now retraced into daily demands over here. So now you can potentially look for this to find some form of support. Overall, it's taken out this bump in the road here. Yesterday, I highlighted that we could have looked for potential more shorts from the 4-hour order flow and the weekly open. That played out nicely. If you look at the 1 hour time frame, you can very clearly see again that we took out some internal liquidity as well here before then again selling off. So that's what you just want to do every single time. Follow the internal structure, follow the internal trend, and wait for liquidity to get grabbed. Here we have an impulse down, then here we have the bump in the road gets taken out, and then from there you sell off. Now again, you can potentially expect a pullback with that 4-hour liquidity now being taken. So keep an eye on a potential pullback to occur on USDJPY. And then last of all, we of course have gold if my screen loads. And gold has been pushing up higher and higher. So let's see what gold has been doing, because if you want to take any entries on gold, you need to wait for the liquidations. Now, again, no real liquidation except for this one here yesterday morning. And then after that, again, massive buy in towards the highs. Now, for gold, if you're looking for new buying opportunities, this here now is the liquidity low. And if that liquidity gets taken, you could look for long again. Or look for this liquidity low here to get taken out, or for this low here to get taken out. So these are now the major liquidity lows that I have on my chart, and if those were to get taken out, that's the only potential kind of like position that I would be looking for potential longs from. So that's it for today, guys. Yeah, thanks for joining in. Again, not really many trades this week as I've been really sitting on my hands and being patient. Only that €1 USD buy, that little one, trading the dollar pullback, but now just waiting for the dollar to find some support well within its daily demand zone. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Wish you all a fantastic trading day and speak soon.